Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on, mister?
Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir.
How are you doing tonight?
I am well, thank you.
Thank you for the positive compliments on my singing of the Nutcracker before we came on. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
you're certainly welcome.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fabulous. It may well be the best rendition I've ever heard.
Who is that? Tchaikovsky? Is that who wrote that? That was different. I've not sang that before.
No.
No.
I'm cool if you don't again.
You're cool if I don't again.
Yeah.
Well, that means that I probably will
Okay, yeah.
every
I'm
week for the next year or
fairly
so.
certain of it.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, I'm doing well. Here we are. We've arrived in August.
Yes, happy August. Cheers to you.
Cheers to you as well. Wow, August.
Yes.
It's amazing how quickly time flies when you're having fun. And we are having fun. I said I'm having fun.
I'm having fun as well. Had a great recording last week.
Yes, we did.
Man, I tell you what, the conversation, and I know we only scratched the surface of things that we could talk with Vice Admiral Lee about, and I've seen him speak. You've known him for years, and we'll have to have him back and go down different paths and on different subject matter with him.
We have to just let him tell some stories. He's a great storyteller.
Well, yes, he is. Yes,
Yeah.
he most definitely is. And we talked about that after the podcast, doing some sea stories episodes, if you will.
Yes.
Getting some folks on here that have, had some interesting experiences in their careers in the military or public safety or anything in general that has been an exciting story worth sharing with others that will captivate their attention.
I'm sure you have some good stories as well. I'm sure we all do.
Oh, no doubt.
No doubt. Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do that. I'd probably learn some things about you that I don't know.
That might scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, it might. It might. Yeah.
No, that could be fun.
I think it would. I think it would be fun. All right, we'll do it.
All right.
Very good.
We should make a multiple episode thing of that. We'll just do it periodically, like we do the profiles and success. We can add that as part of it.
A series.
Yeah.
Sea stories.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like it. I got plenty of them.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
And yours are actual sea stories, in most cases.
Yeah.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of good actual sea stories.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
A few good stories that aren't necessarily at sea, but many of them are, and probably the most interesting ones for sure. And what do you call yours? Road stories?
Oh, I don't know. I think
Cop stories?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that we have a catchy little phrase for them. I don't, anyways.
All right. We'll just call them sea stories because
Yeah.
Coast Guard is the elite maritime fleet of the world, and might as well just go ahead and have everything.
I believe I've heard you say that.
Yeah.
I know some folks that are parts of other maritime services that might disagree with you.
No,
At least
no.
want to argue the point a little bit.
They argue because they're trying to make an impact, but it's kind of like comparing a high school athlete with an Olympian. It's just it's kind of the way it goes.
Right. I would love to get some of you folks together and actually watch those conversations take place. That can be fun. Speaking of the Olympics, right? So we had some not so happy things to say about the Olympics on the last podcast. I've actually watched a little bit now, and there are plenty of folks out there representing the USA that are doing an outstanding job.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
You know, I don't want to shine a negative light on the whole thing, but yeah, there's some folks that are doing great stuff, and I was excited to see some of it. Last night I watched some, actually.
Yeah, I'm enjoying they're heavily into the track and field now. I like the swimming and the track and field, probably because I remember them very fondly as a child. You know, those two events were back to Mark Spitz and all of his time, and
Right.
I think he had like 8 or 9 gold medals at one of the Olympics that he was at. That record was broken by Michael Phelps. What was it, last Olympics or 2 ago?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Anyway, I'm enjoying it as well.
Nice.
And yeah, lots of good stories out there for sure. So thanks to all the men and women who made the Olympic team and are out there representing the United States in a very good way, for sure.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
All right, so that's not what we're here to talk about tonight, though. We've got a whole different subject matter we're going to dive into this evening. So, and this is something that you picked, and I think it's a cool topic. Certainly something that is worthy of talking about, and maybe doing a little self-evaluation on.
Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about focus in the digital age. And there was kind of a cornucopia of events that came together. How's that?
Cornucopia. That's you worked that in there like you'd set that up as a challenge.
No way, that just popped into my brain.
How could I work in the word cornucopia to the conversation tonight?
There was a cornucopia of events that came together.
I think I've mentioned we used to do that as a patrol game.
Yeah.
We'd pick a word of the day, and you had to somehow work that into your one of your radio transmissions during the evening, and people would use it repeatedly, and it was always fun.
I bet that would be fun. Yeah, that would be a fun event. So, yeah, in the context of this particular topic, it was a number of different inputs in that sort of hit me all at the same time. One was a comment from my brother, the Navy brother, and he mentioned about the digital interruptions that I can't remember specifically what he said, but there was that. And then there was I was at the gym, and this was just a couple weeks ago, and I'm sitting there getting ready.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was in a boutique fitness studio called Sweat.
There we go.
Fredericksburg.
Couldn't let that one go.
Yeah. And I'm in the cycle class, and I'm taking a class with my wife, who is the instructor. And it's probably 2 minutes till the class starts, and most of the people are in the room on the bikes, warming up, getting ready to go. And I glance around the room, and there are at least 3 people, maybe 4 people, on their bikes pedaling, but they got their phones in their hand, and they're frantically trying to get their last message out before the class actually starts. And it struck me like, wow, you cannot even warm up for 5 minutes before this workout without being tethered to this electronic device. This is so important that you gotta, I don't know. I mean, was somebody dying, or did they just have to post their where they're at and what they're doing on their social media? It just was amazing. And then the third thing was that make up the cornucopia is I was remembering a quote from one of my all-time favorite. I'm going to call him my mentor. Never met him. John Wooden, UCLA basketball coach. Just because I've read so much and paid so much attention to his life, God rest his soul. But he had a quote that he would say all the time: drink deeply from good books. That was one of his principles in life. And so all those came together at kind of the same time. And I just thought, wow, in this, and it probably pushed me over the edge when my brother made the observation. He thinks our brain is being rewired, that to some degree, that the neurons, the way they're firing, is actually changing because of our addiction, our lack of attention, our fractured focus that occurs as a result of the digital world that we live in. So
I have no doubt that's the case.
do you?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that's the case. It's interesting how many people that are executives in the technology world that won't let their children get involved with
Really?
tablets and things of that nature.
Okay.
There was, and I've searched for the name of this, but there was a movie, a documentary, if you will, about the technology industry that was circulating, I don't know, within the last year or so. It was like right after the pandemic started, and
Yeah.
folks were watching it, but I can't for the life of me remember the name of it. But there were several folks in that documentary that talked about that they either limit their children, the time that their children are allowed to engage with these types of devices, or they just don't allow it at all. And that's telling. I also read somewhere that Steve Jobs didn't let his kids with like iPads and things of that nature. So that might ought to be a clue. I think that there's some concerns out there that and Elon Musk has alluded to this, and I think he might have actually said it in that documentary that one of the things that scares him most is artificial intelligence. And our phones are smarter than we are, or at least they're getting that way if they don't already have the capability of being smarter than we are.
Right.
So yeah, I think that there's definitely some rewiring going on. That's absolutely possible, because we know how you can actually rewire your brain to do things differently and so on. And why couldn't that work? And is it, the bigger question is it being done with intention? Let me throw a little conspiracy theory out there. Is it being done with intention to make us a more manageable society? A more manageable world? I don't know. I'm not throwing out there because I am a conspiracy theorist, and at the same time I'm not walking around with blinders on either and swearing that that's not possible, because I think it is possible.
All right.
Well, I saw the same thing. I saw the same thing that you saw at Sweat. In fact, because I was thinking about this episode tonight, this morning in rowing, we were sitting there getting ready, and of course there's several of us that will link our phones up to the rower, and so that we can capture the data on the workout, right? So it's Bluetooth to the actual rower, and there's a holder for it and so on. But that wasn't the part I'm talking about, because this was a few minutes before class, and several people are there early, and every single one of us, me included, were sitting there on the rowing machine waiting for class to start, and it was like somebody said, okay, assume position 1, and everybody was in position 1 with their smartphone in front of them, surfing, whatever. And I just happened to look up, and I saw that, and I was like,
Boy, what a testament to our society today. I don't know. I don't think it's good.
No.
And in fact, and this is important. As I was doing my research into the topic today, looking around at the impact that this having, it actually scared me. It scared me a bit, because I think I do a pretty good job of being able to sort of filter things out when I'm trying to stay focused on a topic. But I tell you what, I got a ways to go, and I let my guard down sometimes, and that became very clear as I was doing the research, and it scared me a bit, because there was a quote, and I got to find it here. Yeah, it's right here. So here's some actual stats from studies that are out there, peer-reviewed journal articles, and so on. First of all, the quote is, "We are just doing more things poorly." That's it.
Right.
That's it. We're doing more things because, oh my goodness, there's a text, and there's an email, and there's a news item that I got to look at. There's all these things that are screaming for my attention. And oh, by the way, when you're looking at any one of those things, and let's say you're on a website reading the latest headline, there's this flashing thing often in the margin that's also capturing your attention, that says, by the way, 40% off something. Yeah. All of these things that just capture you. The worst thing for me is YouTube. I can get on YouTube, and I can sort of, go brain dead. 20 minutes later, I sort of come to and realize, because I saw something over on the margin that's kind of related to it.
Right.
And literally, 20 minutes later, I'm like, where am I? What happened? And back to your conspiracy theory, I'm not sure that anybody has like this big picture in the sky saying we have to start to change human behavior so we can control them. But I do believe that individual companies, individual providers are trying to capture your attention, not because they're trying to take over your life, but because they, it's clickbait. Every time somebody clicks on their product or service,
it's all about the money.
It's all about the money. So anyway, 40% drop in efficiency. When you're focused on one thing and all of a sudden a shiny object, electronic something captures your attention and you take it off, even if it's just, wow, I just got a text from my daughter. I'm going to look at that for a second. It takes you minutes, sometimes 15 to 20 minutes to get your brain back into the zone that you were in based on what you were focused on before you started. I mean, I can see it easily. 40% drop in efficiency, literally a 10-point drop in IQ.
Yeah, I read that same thing. That's crazy when you think about it. I mean, it's making you less intelligent. What we're engaging in.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. We're just doing more stuff poorly.
2.6 hours per day on average spent on things that are not vital in our lives. That's what happens. You lose your mind. You're sitting there and you got all of a sudden, like I said, you're working on something, but you got your phone sitting in a place where you can see it. I got my phone turned off, and I typically have it face down, so I'm not looking at it. But if you got it face up and a text pops up, which, by the way, we all get text messages all day long if you're in a professional work environment. Oh, let me just take a quick look at that. Maybe I'm writing something. I'm writing a memo. Right. I'm writing a report. I'm writing an important email. I'm writing, bzzz, which mine doesn't do, but,
Yeah,
let me look at that real quick.
Mine doesn't do either. It doesn't, because of you, right? And I thank you for that.
Yeah.
I look at it when I want to look at it, and many times it's more frequently than I should. I will tell you that it's been a great improvement since I adopted your strategy of turning all those notifications off and only going to it and looking at it when
you decide you want to. Yeah.
and there's time where I'll intentionally set it down and walk away from it, go out and do something else.
Yeah. So here are the last two, and these are important. This is a big one. Loss of emotional connection. And then we understand what it is that we're trying to do or read or understand a lot less because we're so distracted. But the loss of emotional connection. I think back about those days when you would walk into a room and there was some time before something was about to start, or sweat is another good one. You walk into the gym, you're on the bike, you're ready to start and before all this digital crap that was going on, what would you do?
People would have conversations with each other.
People would have
they would have human interaction.
You would look at them. Yeah. And you'd say, "Hey, you're looking good," or "I like your new whatever," or "how are you doing?" Or "You told me last week about whatever. How's your kids?" And you would have a conversation. Ain't that don't happen?
Right.
It's tragic.
Right.
When
so
you think about it.
Imagine how our interpersonal skills are suffering as a result.
Stop it, people. Stop the madness. That's what I'm telling you. That is what I took away from this. And I have many notes. My daughter, this is old. I'm sure this phrase isn't used anymore, but did you ever hear the phrase FOMO? FOMO? Okay.
Yeah. Fear of missing out, man.
Fear of missing out.
We joke about my youngest granddaughter having that, right? So she is the queen of catnaps because, and she just fights going to sleep too because we think she's, got FOMO. She's just afraid something's going to go down and she's going to miss it. But yeah, it's same thing with the digital stuff. Got to check Facebook, got to check LinkedIn, got to, because I might miss something.
Right. I might, there might be 3 or 4 or 5 different, exchanges that I don't get to participate in because I'm not paying attention. Oh my God, that's the end of the world. And many families, I think rightfully so, have a rule, and I think it's a great rule. No phones, no smartphones, during dinner time when you're sitting down and chatting, so that you can actually have those emotional connections and those conversations. Yeah. But I remember, when all of this was starting, my daughter was young. She was kind of at the front edge of all of this. It's before, way before how addicting. That's another thing. That it's an addicting. It's an addiction, And that was another study that I read today. I'm sure you did too, that every time you do something like that, you respond to a text, you answer an email, you know, you in your brain, you're checking something off,
right?
That you did something good, and that gives you a little shot of a positive, whatever, I don't know, dopamine or something in your brain, which is a very positive thing. But all that, you want that all the time, so it's this constant. It becomes addicting. Oh, Lord have mercy. It is robbing people of their lives. And
well, you know, the relationship. Well, I'm trying to think how to exactly say that. The relationships that are potentially being screwed up as a result of people's, you know, their inability to communicate with one another effectively, or the lack of attention that they're giving to one another. And, you know, I've talked about that before as far as the importance of being present in conversations that you're having. And, you know, it's not a perfect science, and I'm guilty of it too. And I also catch myself doing it and take corrective action. And I think that's part of the process in trying to do this better is, you know, being aware of what you're doing, right? That self-awareness, and then holding yourself accountable for doing it differently. And catching yourself when you're doing it wrong, and, you know, taking a change of course to get back on the right track.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and I mean, we can implement you know, rules in many aspects of our lives. You know, it cracks me up. I don't know why people will go to meetings and they'll bring their phones with them into a meeting, and, you know, they won't answer, well, most of them, you know, they're not going to answer the phone call while they're in the meeting, right? But some do, and they'll answer the phone. They'll say, "Hey, I'm in a meeting. Can I call you back?" I'm like, don't you have voicemail?
Right.
You know, why didn't you just let that go to voicemail?
Right.
Because, you know, that, yeah, I don't know. And maybe that in their mind there's a good reason for it. For me, it's just kind of a head shaker. It's like, why didn't you just let that go to voicemail? Or, you know, because now you're distracted because you answered the phone and we're not accomplishing anything because you can't talk. Should just let it go to voicemail.
Yeah, and back to true story, absolutely happened. I watched it happen just within the last 2 weeks. Back to sweat. We're right in the middle of the workout. Everybody's going strong, pedaling, breathing, you know, trying to get through. Somebody's phone does something, and she felt that this was so important that I gotta stop my workout, get up, interrupt the whole class, get off my bike, grab my phone, walk out in front of everybody, you know, that room. You can't.
And it may have been, you know, and but hey, I also got to call this out. We're not sweat bashing here, right? So
no,
not at all. This just happens to be a place that you know, we spend some time and we see this stuff going on. But there are many others. Yeah, it's it could be, you know, there could be those times where it is, you know, a very important thing, but this happens way too much. I know what you're saying.
I remember, and this I read an article that talked about what it meant, and this back to John Wooden, back to, you know, one of the early comments in this podcast where he would say, drink deeply from a good book. And there was one guy who was saying, and boy, this one hit me. Reading a book, you're sitting there, I mean, and I remember getting into a good book. I could just get lost in a good book for hours, sit in a comfortable chair and read, and all of a sudden you're so into the story, you're so focused on it, or whatever it is. It might be history. I love to read about history, so I can get into that, and hours go by, and that's drinking deeply.
Yeah.
And he was saying he'll read 2 pages, and all of a sudden he starts getting this itch. He's like, I got to check my email. You know, after 2 pages of reading a book, you know, I got to, you know, maybe something's come in. I got to check my text message.
That rewiring thing that's going on.
Yeah. I mean, this is not good, folks. This is not good. If you want to increase your productivity, if you want to increase your creativity, if you want to improve your personal relationships, you have to stop this madness.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to. And all of us are guilty. All of us can improve. I'm raising my hand to say I absolutely need to improve, but I'm going to. I tell you what, after preparing for this podcast, I'm changing some more habits.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm on board with that. You know, and we also, and we talked about this beforehand, you know, the irony of the fact that you are probably listening to us on a smartphone or a tablet or a computer or something along those lines, you know, that's not lost on us, right? So there are productive ways to use this technology. It's just about managing that usage and making sure that you know, you're driving it and you're not being driven by that device because you've become addicted to it, and your productivity and so on is suffering as a result.
Yeah,
relationships and all that. But you know, so I didn't finish what I was talking about earlier as far as setting some rules, right? So I talked about, you know, answering a phone in a meeting. Put some rules in place. Ban that shit.
Yeah.
You know, first off, you know, you got to make sure all your phones are on silent in a meeting, right? If they're not, you know, levy some fines. And, you know, I don't know if that's permissible in your particular environment, but if it's not, figure out a way to make it permissible.
Yeah.
Levy some fines, and, you know, that'll change some behavior. Hold people accountable for that. Or, you know, turn them off altogether, or make them, you know, check them at the door, put a basket over there, and give them a sticky note where they can put their name on it, and everybody's got to label their phone and stick it in the basket, because you can't have it in this meeting, because we need your full and undivided attention while you're here.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is what I would challenge everybody to do. Take a minute and think about your life, and think about the way that you're behaving right now with respect to your smartphone, you know, your iPad, whatever it is that you use. Is it the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? You wake up and you got to look at your phone. What's going on? What are the headlines? What emails did I miss last night? What text messages? I mean, if you're looking at your phone, guilty. You know, within the first 2 or 3 minutes of waking up, because it's sitting right next to you on the nightstand.
It's my alarm clock.
Okay, well, there you go. But then, do you just turn off the alarm, or do you pick it up and look at it?
Oh no, I pick it up and look at it.
There you go.
And for the same reasons every day.
Right.
I'm not necessarily looking at email. There's a couple of texts that I need to return every morning, because my youngest daughter, sends me a good night text every night. Okay. And it's most of the time after I've already gone to bed. Okay. Right. So then I send her a good morning text in response to her good night text. And you know, I know she's sleeping while she's getting it. So
that's a good one. All right, yeah, I'll give you that one. But you can have that one.
Yeah, and then the morning, you know, we have a good morning ritual with my club brothers, and you know, I think there's some that make it a contest to see how early you can put the good morning message out there to each other.
Okay.
So, and some of them that are working shift work, you know, they have an advantage, obviously.
Absolutely.
But or that just get up at ungodly hours. But yeah, so those two, when I wake up, I'm pretty quick about answering those.
Yeah, but just imposing some rules and some discipline. And I read one that this guy has. He calls it the 5 more rule. Mm-hmm. And that's a good. Did you read about that? Okay, so we came across that one similarly. But it was, 5 more minutes. Just whatever you're doing, do it for 5 more minutes without looking at your damn phone. Do 5 more reps if you're working out. Do not touch your phone for 5 more minutes. And that can be really hard. It can be.
Yep.
You know, 5 minutes. Everybody's thinking, 5 minutes, I can do anything for 5 minutes. I'm telling you what. You start twitching. You start wondering. You start, and I think I'm pretty good. I actually was examining. So, but I got a long way to go. And I'm not, especially when you start talking about loss of retention, loss of creativity, loss of human connection. Those things resonate with me. You know, when you start talking about the impact that you're having on the people that you're dealing with, or you're needing to get something important done at work,
right? And
you need all of your focus in. And this is one of those things where you're focused for 10 minutes. Wait, what was that? I heard.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're off. You're off. And it's 20 minutes before you can get your focus back onto it. That's destructive. It is. And then the worst part is, all of a sudden you're feeling like you got to look at it because of the addiction and particularly, and there are many people out there who have addictive personalities. That's even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, and it happens less, but it happens literally. I love to watch YouTube, and right now what I'm trying to do is go back and look at Olympic events that I'm interested in that I missed. So I want to go see a performance of some sort.
Right.
And I'll go on and I'll look at that particular event, and it'll only be a minute, 2 minutes long, whatever. But then there's all this stuff on the right margin with all of this other. And again, I'll come to 20 minutes later.
Right. Well, and the reason that stuff's out there is because the marketing people know that that's how we respond to it, that it's going to catch our attention because we've shown evidence thereof. And so they keep doing what they know works.
Yeah.
So, another thing that I want to call out is this idea, and you mentioned reading. Read actual books, hard physical books that are made out of paper. I know that sounds like a weird thing here, and I know that's contrary to your modern thinking. But it's one of those things that you become addicted to that tablet or whatever you're reading that book on. Pick up the actual book and read it. I just think it's better anyways because you can make notes, highlight, and dog ear pages and so on, so that you can use it as depends on what kind of book you're reading, but use it as a resource later. Come back to.
You haven't really. You're not familiar with modern technology.
Yeah, don't do that with library books if there's still a library where you live.
All that stuff you can do with an electronic book now. You can take notes and highlight and you can even dog ear it.
Yeah.
So
it's counterproductive. Get off the tablet. Read the damn book. Read the actual book. Get off the tablet.
I know I'm kind of teasing you there. I agree with you. I think there is something to be said for that. And
of course, we both have notes on electronic devices tonight. Neither one of us use paper.
As it should be. I mean, I'm not saying don't use technology. I'm saying
don't let technology use you.
Correct.
And control you. Yeah.
And there's a funny thing. I didn't even think about it at all until you just said it. But I occasionally teach adjunct, college courses. And one of the requirements that I have when I'm teaching these, and the students absolutely hate it. Remember the old blue books, that you had to write in. They're just they're probably 10 pages long,
right?
And they have blue covers. They're called blue books. And I would give exams, and I would make them write by hand the answers to the questions, and everything was an essay. They hated it because they can't type on their computer.
Right.
And the thing is, I was trying to
write by hand in cursive. What is that? What is cursive?
I don't think they teach
That's
cursive anymore.
Yeah, I think they've stopped. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, when you have to actually write by hand, you have to form your thought in your head before you put it down on paper. You can misspell a word and line it out and rewrite the correct spelling above it. But it's a different thought process than just jamming it into your keyboard, knowing that Grammarly or whatever you have on there is correcting how you write it.
Right.
I want to know the raw thoughts coming out, the way that it's coming out of your brain without any corrections, because that gives me a much better indication of your grasp of the subject matter than
Right.
Yeah. They didn't like it. They
or
did
your
not like it
ability
at all.
to wonder how the hell they got in this class.
Right. Who is this old geezer making me write by hand without my computer and all that, and why is he doing it? And it's because that's where you can really test what they know. All the computers were closed, nothing. This is pencil, paper, write it out. And
just making friends.
Well, that wasn't my objective, to make friends, but yeah, so I'm tell you what, this is a big deal to me. And I think it should be.
I can tell you're definitely fired up about it, and it should be. We should all pay attention to it. I think that you can argue it if you want to, and at the same time, I think you just actually sit back and think about the things that we're exposed to on a regular basis in the technology realm. It's not all positive. There may be some very positive things out there. I think that there are some things that you're exposed to regularly that are not, and what kind of an impact is that having on your psyche, your demeanor, and fallout in relationships that you're having, and so on, your overall outlook on life. Could it be impacted by some of this stuff that you're being exposed to that you maybe don't intentionally set out to look at, but for some reason you're getting pinged with, and then it captures your attention, and boom. So just be guarded, be suspicious, and pay attention to what you're allowing yourself to be exposed to, and take control of that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. because you're right. There's good. There's a lot of good. There's some bad. Just be aware of both of those. And I mean, oh my goodness, we would be crazy not to acknowledge all the good that comes from the technology that we have and the information that is at our fingertips, and that's a beautiful thing.
So you don't want me to go get a hammer and smash both of our smartphones tonight?
No,
okay.
no,
that might be a little extreme.
That would definitely cause me to twitch, for sure. But being in the moment, we've talked about that many times, being completely focused on what you're doing, getting it done, not being distracted. Those are important things. And when you, another thing that I didn't talk about, but was the impact of these constant interruptions all day long, going to this, to this, to this, to this, it has the physical equivalent of losing a night's sleep on you. And that has a physical manifestation that people don't. I'll speak for myself again. I didn't fully realize, because I've been there. Like I said, I've worked hard, before we started talking about this podcast, of trying to get it right, but I got a ways to go, and this was enough to scare me. Yeah. This was enough to put some fear into me that I want to continue to be productive. I want to be able to connect. I want to be able to focus. I want to be able to get stuff done. I want to retain. And when you're constantly being distracted by all these shiny objects that you're getting on your electronic devices, you ain't doing it.
Right.
It's not good for you.
Yeah, and you're not, I know we've mentioned this before, but, multitasking, that's bullshit. You're not actually multitasking. You're just being bounced from one thing to another. Multitasking is a misnomer. It's a myth.
You're doing more things poorly.
Yep, exactly right.
That's
all you're doing. Spending a little time here, spending a little time here, spending a little time here, and not doing worth a shit on any of it.
Right. Not retaining it, not understanding it, not writing it as good as you could because you're so busy responding to that important text about who knows what.
Yeah. And this thought just occurred to me, right? So let's think about this, right? So, you might be in an industry where, it's not a life and death kind of thing, where the decisions that you're making right now aren't necessarily going to cause somebody to suffer serious bodily injury or death, or you might be. And if you're in one of those where that's the possibility, and you're engaging in behavior like this, where you're bouncing around all kinds of different things and not giving them any not giving any of them the due that they require, that's a problem.
Yep. Yeah, it is a problem. Yeah, and it's a big thing now. It has been for years. Don't text and drive. Oh my goodness! Every single day, I see people on their phones doing stuff while they're driving. Every single day.
So this is going to give me a flashback to a George Carlin skit years ago, where he talks about being able to shoot people in cars with darts, and I think it was George Carlin did this, and you shoot a dart at him and it says like stupid or reckless driver or something like that, and the law enforcement sees that there's 3 or 4 on this car, and then they can pull him over and write him a ticket for it. Maybe we need the same thing with texting and driving, or using your smartphone while you're driving. Folks are somewhat good about concealing that when they see law enforcement, but I see it happening all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe we need little dart guns that we can shoot at vehicles and just stick that little dart on the side. And if you're a law enforcement officer and you see a car that's got 4 flags on it, that's
the little suction cup ones, right?
Exactly.
That just stick to the side.
Yeah, then that's more than enough reason to pull them over and write them a citation for it.
I haven't seen one. Are those guns still out there? Are they still?
The dart guns?
Yeah.
Shit, I don't know, man. We can bring them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember lawn darts? Man, that was awesome.
Yeah, man, I survived lawn darts.
I did too.
Yeah.
Lawn darts.
Rode a bicycle without a helmet.
Lawn darts.
Drank from the garden hose. Played lawn darts, all kinds of stupid shit.
So for those of you who don't know, lawn darts were these weighted metal spikes with wings on the back end of them that had a really sharp point. And the idea was you'd take 2 rings and put them on the grass, 30 or 40 yards away from each other, and you would underhand these darts, and they would sail through the air and stick into the ground. You're trying to hit inside the ring on the other side. I mean, these things would impale the top of a car.
Yeah, I heard a rumor somewhere that cornhole was actually invented by somebody that took a lawn dart to the chest.
No way. It could have been, though.
Think about it, right?
Oh,
it's like, this is a cool concept, but we got to do it differently. Let's fill some bags with corn and throw them at holes.
And I loved lawn darts. And I'm telling you, probably, and this is why they got, I would throw those things into the air as high as I possibly could.
Oh, it's a wonder we didn't kill somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Or ourselves.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. You'd whip those things as hard as you could throw them, up into the air, and then just kind of watch where it came down.
I have to ask my mom and dad if they still have them. They don't throw shit like that away. They might have the lawn darts. We could have a lawn dart competition and film it.
There you go. All right. Well, that was before social media.
Yeah.
There you go. We had lawn dart. That was our distraction. Let's go out and see what we can do with the lawn darts. Woo, man! But I enjoyed the heck out of it. I played that for hours and hours and hours. As far as I know, no animals got stuck by them that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of.
Right.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we've chewed this up and spit this out a number of different ways. The main message being, take time away from this stuff. You take control of what you're doing with the technology in your life, and don't let it take control of you.
Yeah, that's it. It's an addiction, and not to mention all of the bad stuff that you can get yourself into that you shouldn't be looking at, or shouldn't be reading, or shouldn't be running down that rabbit hole. Stuff that's just not good for you. So
right.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks for pushing the right button.
I almost pushed the wrong one. You saw that, right?
I did.
As we often say, no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy the ride. Put your phone down. Talk to your spouse, children, whoever.
Connect. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.